Hello. Today I am continuing my Batman villain redesign series. I've already done a part 1 where I drew the Joker, Catwoman, and the Riddler. You don't have to watch that one to watch this one, but check it out if you like this. So the first villain I am doing today is the Scarecrow, who is my actual favorite Batman villain of them all. I love him. I think he's very fun of a character. I love his spooky aesthetic. I love his fear gimmick. I think he has also a lot of very cool designs, and I just think he's neat. It's just sort of a shame that he doesn't have a lot of good stories or adaptations from the comics. I really like him in the Arkham games. I think that's the best version of him. But I feel like he just doesn't have a lot of very good stories that sort of like explores him in like an interesting way. I feel like he's usually a villain that's used to have other characters realize new stuff about themselves. Like, oh, I realized that my fear was, I don't know, losing my loved ones. And this guy made me realize it, and now I can beat the shit out of him after I overcome that fear. That's like the majority of Scarecrow stories in my experience, but some of them are good, some of them are good. I find it very surprising that the fear toxin, like that seems to be such an integral part of the character, came very late actually. Like it's kind of surprising how it was just not part of his character in the beginning. Like in the beginning, when he was first introduced in the Golden Age in the 40s, he was just a guy who dressed up as a scarecrow and had a gun. I'm not joking, that was his first appearance. It's like, I am gonna strike fear with people dressing up as a scarecrow. That's gonna be the scary part, not the fact that I have a gun. Like, I think it's the gun part. If someone came up to me dressed up as a scarecrow, honestly, it'd be a bit terrifying. But my biggest concern would be the gun. So for my version of the character, I wanted him to look spooky. It was number one priority on my list. I also wanted him to look very tall and lanky because that seems to be a very common characterization trait of his character design across multiple versions. And I don't think I made him tall and lanky enough in my own drawing. I think it's the canvas fault. I should have made it bigger. So yeah, that's on me. If I were to draw him again, I probably have more space. Because I didn't want to cut out his hat in my drawing, like, because that just looks very unprofessional. I love giving Scarecrow a hat when I draw him. I think he looks so weird without one. There's some designs that work, I guess, without a hat. Like it's fine in the Arkham games that he has a hood. I accept that, but he looks so weird without it. Please give this man the hat. I don't care if you think it's silly. He looks sillier without it. And I love Tim Sale's design of Scarecrow. He's probably one of my favorites, honestly. I love how tall and lanky of a guy he is in Tim Sale's drawings. Rest in peace, by the way. I was heartbroken when I learned the news that Tim Sale died this year of recording. Yeah, but I really love his designs for multiple Batman rogues. I think he has such like a unique. I can understand why people wouldn't necessarily like it, but I love it. I love it when it's like exaggerated like this. I love his character design so much. I was experimenting, I also did like a maskless version, and I'm experimenting and giving him brown eyes. But when I gave him brown eyes, he looked way too much like Victor from Arcane, and I didn't want comments telling me that. I did give him blue eyes though in the end. I like kind of like a mini homage to Cillian Murphy, who played him in the movies. Scarecrow needs desperately to make a comeback in the movies. I feel like he was so wasted in the Dark Knight trilogy. It's just like, it was so, like, he's like the only villain who appears in all 3 movies, and he doesn't have a big role in any of them. It's just like, and he's also played by such a wonderful actor. I love Cillian Murphy so much. But so, and I also feel like having him have those piercing blue eyes just fits. It's like, I don't know. Like, I remember I watched when I watched Lord of the Rings for the first time with my sister. She found Elijah Wood, like Frodo, so scary, and I'm like, how? She's like, it's his eyes. They're so creepy. I don't know. I'm like, dude, this guy. No, it's. I also feel like Scarecrow should work without his fear toxin, which I think a lot of writers don't get. Like, I really love the interview tapes from the Arkham games, where he just sort of psychoanalyzes the Doctor. I feel like he should be scared without his fear toxin. He should learn the human psyche and all that. Like, he's supposed to be a psychology major. He should know how the human mind works and all that jazz. I'm playing with colors. I'm trying to find a color palette that works well, because I think the original colors I gave him was way too vibrant, and it doesn't work. Well, that was the end of that drawing, I guess. The next character I am doing is Poison Ivy. The plant lady, I guess, of the Batman rogues. She is. I was surprised to learn that she wasn't from the Golden Age. She's actually from the Silver Age, which is pretty neat. I also think that she's one of the Batman villains who has changed the most from her first appearance. Like, her first appearance, she was sort of just like a lady villain who was like, I want to be known as the sexiest and evilest villain, evil villainess of them all, which is very, very different from how she is these days. I feel like the plant aspect was also like, I guess I can have a gimmick, and then she just chose plants, or specifically poison ivy, because the comic made numerous references like, oh, I'm poison ivy. Once you get me, you can never get rid of me. Sort of like another thing in life, which I'm not gonna mention, but the ones who knows, and the ones who don't are, I don't know, just innocent, I guess. Like, modern poison ivy is still considered like an attractive woman, though. Like, that aspect hasn't gone away, but that's usually just a comic and general fiction thing to have women be pretty. Like, I feel like there's like a lot of female characters who has it like as an important aspect of their character that they are pretty, and she's just also one of them. So I felt like it was weird to remove that from her. Her face was the hardest part. Like, it was so hard, and I'm not even sure if I think her face was the thing I actually liked the most, but it was so hard to come up with like a design for her to make it, because I love Poison Ivy designs that looks very like inhumane. Like, she's not fully human. It's not necessarily uncanny, but it's like sort of like, even if she does reform and it's like, I'm not evil anymore, guys, she can't fully go back to humanity. I think that's an interesting aspect of her character. Like, I also like the idea that over the years she looks more and more like monstrous. I think that's a neat concept. Like one of my favorite designs for her is also Tim Sale's design of her. I love her very pointy face. That's probably where I got it from actually, when I think about it. Neat. And I love her hair. It's not something I see a lot, probably because it's super hard to draw. Trust me, I have tried to draw Tim Sale's version of Poison Ivy in the past. It's so hard to get the hair right. It's like, it's so pretty. I love it. I love it more than anything. I didn't go for that because I didn't want to just copy his design. I wanted to make my own designs. And as I said, I'm not sure if I even... I like it fine. There's probably things... I would probably make her outfit a bit different. And that's about it. I feel like I think I also complained like last video that I didn't feel like I got Catwoman's design right. But yeah. I also did like the version of her that was like pre-transformation, and in that one I planned to give her sort of like geeky glasses and such, but then I stopped myself because then I realized I would fall into one of my least favorite tropes of all time, where you have like a attractive woman, but she wears glasses and has a bit like messy hair, and suddenly she's like the ugliest person on earth. It's like, oh my gosh, she's hideous. How can anyone love her? Ugh. She has a ponytail and paint on her overalls. If you know that reference, you're a goat. But like, even when she like tries to sever herself from humanity, she can't truly do that because like she's still human at the end of the day. I think there's like an interesting storyline there. I feel like some of my favorite Poison Ivy stories are usually the ones that explores her struggle with her own humanity. I think those are the ones who usually captivate me the most. I think I originally want to give her freckles, but when I did that, she looked way too much like how I drew Riddler in my first video, so I prompted to not do that. Maybe that's the new lore I add to this version of Batman. They're long lost siblings because they both have red hair, and that's it. And the last villain I am doing for today is TwoFace, who was actually the Batman villain that got me into the fandom, I guess. Like, I watched Batman the Animated Series for the first time, and his quote-unquote debut episode was like my favorite episode of the series. It's still one of my favorites. It's so good. And that was really what got me into the Batman fandom, so yeah, that's why I'm even doing this video, is because of him. My computer crashed in the middle of recording me drawing him, so I'm sorry if there's like an awkward jump in the middle of this. I couldn't stop it from happening because it crashed, and there's very few things you can prevent from crashing your computer, except maybe not having it overwork itself. But it's in the past, I can't change it, I'm sorry. Frank TwoFace, unlike Poison Ivy, is probably the Batman villain who has changed the least from his first debut. Like, and like, it makes sense. His first debut is a very good one. I think he has one of the strongest first debuts of all the Batman villains in comics, and I will stand by that. Like, his origin story from the 40s still holds up pretty well, and I will highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in the character, really. So yeah, it's like most versions of him usually have him be a DA of sorts, where he is one of the few good politicians of Gotham City, but then he gets his face half messed up by a crime lord, and now he's a criminal. I usually prefer the versions of Two-Face where he already had psychological issues before turning into Two-Face, and like getting the vat of and getting the chemicals to his face was sort of last straw. That was like, you know what, I'm done. I feel like that makes more sense. I usually really hate the version of Two-Face where he was like a jerk from the start, where he was like always a bad person. I think it kind of ruins the tragedy of his character a lot when he was just always a bad person. I feel like, why would you do that? It's so much more tragic and compelling when he was genuinely a good person, and then this whole thing just ruined it for everyone. I really love it in the animated series that they made Harvey be friends with Bruce Wayne over Batman. I think it adds to like this tragedy to it all. I think Two-Face definitely one of the characters like that I think works the best when he is sympathetic. Like, he just makes me sad. His face was so hard to draw because I kind of wanted him to have like this handsome aspect to him, and I don't draw a lot of I guess handsome characters. I usually, when I draw guys, I usually draw them to be like kind of pretty. I don't draw a lot of handsome fellows. Maybe I should change that. I also wanted him to be a bit more mass to him. Not necessarily because I think he like does like cardigos and like goes to the gym every single week, but I feel like I just wanted a bit of variety because I felt like all of the guys I have drawn thus far was usually more on the thin and lankier side, especially Joker and Scarecrow. So I wanted a bit of a change. I was like, have you seen him in like the Telltale games? He is built like a mountain. Me and my sister had lots of fun making fun. Like look at him next to Bruce Wayne. He looked like he could just pick up Bruce and just snap it in half like a toothpick. It's both jarring but also just the greatest thing on earth. But yeah, I decided to add. I didn't really know how to do the scarring because surprisingly, maybe I should have looked up references to how acid-related scars look, but I also didn't want to get traumatized, so I didn't look up. But I think like the red matches very well to the black and white. I just think red, black, white is a nice color palette and it usually works most of the time, but to be fair, white and black is usually colors that work with everything, even though people will probably argue, but black and white aren't really colors. It's like, I don't care. The black and white suit is definitely inspired by the animated series. I just think it looks neat. Like, I love you Golden Age Two-Face, but the orange and purple, a bit too much sometimes. I also think that not a lot of Batman villains that I have drawn thus far had black and white as a color palette, so I was like, hey, why not add to it? You know, it just works well with this whole thing. I just really like Two-Face a lot. I just think he's probably one of the Batman villains who has like a lot of very good storylines and good adaptations. Well, anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed these designs and just listening to me just ramble on about Batman villains for 20-ish minutes. Check out part 1 if you haven't. It would be neat, and if you really enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. The normal YouTube stuff. Hope I see you again, and goodbye.